Are you tired of being broke? If the answer is yes, you're going to love today's video, because actually you might not love it. You might hate it, because I'm actually going to tell you the truth of some mistakes that you're making that are literally keeping you stuck in this perpetual state of financial fuckness. Because the reality is that if you start making better decisions and doing some of the things that I'm actually going to outline and talk about in today's video, you're going to be amazed at how quickly your financial future starts to turn around. Because unfortunately, it's not necessarily about like just making more money. If you don't learn the skills or the habits, and you still make that money, you're still gonna be broke. In order for you to basically un-F yourself financially, you've gotta be honest. It starts there, and that's step number one. What people do a lot of times is they bury their head in the sand, right? They'll spend money on their credit cards, they won't look at the statements, they'll just pay their minimum dues. They're not actually looking and understanding what's happening. Or they just don't wanna face the reality. They know that they're not making ends meet, and they know that they're always stressed out about money. They know that they, can't always go out to eat, or they probably shouldn't be Ubering, or I should say ordering Uber Eats, 3 nights a week, but they still do it because it's comfortable, right? And it's something that you've been doing for years. And that's really step number one. It's being aware of your financial situation. You've got to stop lying to yourself, all right? Until you're ready to look yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the bank account, basically, and lay all your cards on the table and get honest, you're never going to change your situation. And so step number one is be honest, be upfront, and be willing to take a hard look at what's going on. Step number two, you gotta know what's coming in, you gotta know what's going out. There's zero chance that you are going to be able to ascend the hierarchy of financial success until you basically know what's happening financially. A budget, right? You talk about that, you hear about that, people know about that, but most people don't do it. You've got to know where you're starting from. And so what I'd recommend is for the next 30 days, I want you to track everything. It's like a balance sheet, right? How much money do you have coming in? All your businesses or side hustles or whatever you're doing to make money. Does your grandma send you $20? Write it down. Do you have a job where you're making $17 an hour? Like, what is the income? How much do you have coming in on average every single month, all right? It starts there. So you know how much money is coming in? That's probably the easier one to figure out. How much money is going out? Vanishing like a fart in the wind, right? You a lot of times don't know like how much you're actually spending. And this one, when you start actually writing it down and looking at it, it is eye-opening how much money we waste. Or I should say, I'll just take it from me, right? It was amazing to me how much money I was wasting on stupid shit, like really random stupid stuff, right? And until you know what's happening, you can't plan, you can't prepare, you can't grow, you can't un-F yourself financially. And so you know what's happening. You look at it. All right, here's what's coming in, here's what's going out. Where are you? What's the number at the end of the month? How much money do you have left over? If the answer is negative 3,000 or negative 100 or negative 200, there is a drastic problem, and there's something that you need to fix like ASAP. This probably means that you need to go get a second job or find a way to bring more money in or drastically cut your spending. The two areas that we spend the most amount of money on is where we live and what we drive, all right? You don't need that nice of a car. Can you trade it in? Can you get a lower car payment? All right, the place that you're living. Is it something that's too nice? Is it a little bit too expensive? Do you need a roommate? Do you need to live with somebody? Do you need to downsize to a 2-bedroom apartment from a 3 or whatever it is? You've got to be honest. You got to look at it. And if you truly want to basically be successful and financially free, you've got to do what you need to do, which is cut out the extra spending. All right. And this is the thing. You need to basically create a line item of how much stupid shit you're spending money on. This includes Starbucks. This includes buying a bottle of water in a grocery store or in a convenience store. This includes Uber Eats. This includes going out to get beers with your friends. This includes going out to lunch with your coworkers. This includes buying shoes. This includes buying clothing. This includes anything that you don't need to live. You need to know what is that number. Making a budget and looking at your finances is one of the hardest things to do when you are broke, because it's embarrassing, it's also stressful, and when you see it black and white, like laid out on paper, it makes you realize that it ain't working. Even though you know in the back of your head, hey, it ain't working, it ain't working. You need to know what you're spending. Stop spending on shit you don't need. Now, the next thing we got to talk about is credit. All right, and that's another thing. If you have to use your credit card or credit to buy something that you don't need or anything, even if you need it. You got to understand that this debt that you're accumulating on this like credit card or this high interest, like literally like the average credit card is like 22%, which is humongous. You're not going to make 22% in any market. You're not going to make 22% in most investments, but you're paying it out. What does this mean? This means if you buy something, not only are you paying for it now, you're going to be paying for it in the long term. And if you don't pay it off, you're paying like 5 times the cost of that thing initially. You've got to understand that credit cards are in the business to make money. They want you to spend. They want you to carry a high balance, which is why it's critical. Number one, you stop. Stop spending on credit. Don't buy anything that you can't afford to pay cash for. If you can't afford to pay cash for something, you don't need it, or you shouldn't be buying it. And that's the thing. You've got to start looking at it that way. Do I have the money to pay for it? And if the answer is no, I don't need to buy it. Or could I do without? Another pro tip I'd just like to give you, something that helped me really get my spending under control, is wait 3 months. 3 months. If there's something that I want, right, whether or not it's a watch or shoes or pants or something like that, unfortunately, one of the bad behaviors that people that are broke do is they give in to their impulses, right? They don't have that whole like delayed gratification mentality. They'll just go out and buy it. They get it and they're like, awesome, for a second, and then they get their bill and then they're like, oh shit, like I didn't realize it was gonna be that much. Like, you gotta understand that you need to exercise discipline when it comes to purchasing, all right? Broke people typically don't do that. They also, like I said, they don't have the ability to not spend on stupid shit, including Uber Eats and eating out, going out with your friends. You can go out and spend a little bit of money, right? You don't have to go out to the $50, $60, $70, $80 dinner. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go on these nice dates when you're taking somebody out. There are a lot of affordable things that you could do, like free things that you could do. You just need to get creative. You need to use your brain. And if you are truly ready to take control, you've got to start looking for opportunities to basically have fun without spending money, which is the next thing. You got to have cheaper hobbies. All right, if you are serious about getting unfucked, you've got to start looking at your hobbies and what you're doing on the weekends or after work or whatever it is. You've got to figure out a way to get those expenses down as well. I know that it's not fun. I know that your friends might be doing it, but they're not my concern. You are. And so you got to get it under control. The next thing and mistake that people make when it comes to being broke is they don't actually learn about credit and how it works and how much you're actually paying. Once you understand that, once again, it really paints a more accurate picture of what is the long-term expense of this thing that you're buying. You've got to educate yourself about money, which is another mistake that keeps people poor. They don't learn about it. The next mistake is not worrying about your credit. Your credit score, gentlemen, is critical for you not getting financially effed, all right? Because if you've got a good credit score and you protect it, you're gonna have the ability to borrow for a house or maybe an asset, which we'll talk about in a second, at a much lower interest rate. A lower interest rate means you're not having to basically pay for the opportunity to borrow the money from the bank or the lender, making them rich. You're making them less rich. But if you can afford to pay cash, even better, all right? Something else, like I said, is investing. All right, the next thing and mistake that people that are broke do or don't do is they don't pay themselves. All right, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. One of the principles that I learned and took away from that book, audiobook, because I don't read, I listen, is you got to pay yourself first. 10%. When you get paid, right? When you get paid every month, every 2 weeks, whatever, take 10% of whatever you get in your bank and save it. Stick it aside, put it away. Don't even think about it. Don't wait until after you pay your other bills. You've got to start thinking about paying yourself as a bill. The number one bill that you pay, set it aside. When you get into the habit of doing this, think about it, right? If you do 10% for 10 pay periods, you've just saved a whole entire paycheck, right? 10%, 10 times, 10, like literally. If you get paid $5,000 in a month, you do that, right? 10 times, you're gonna have $5,000 sitting there in that bank account. You've gotta start paying yourself. The next thing you gotta start doing is looking for opportunities to invest, all right? Now, once you have that $10,000 that we talk about that you should have, in my opinion, in that savings account, now we got to talk about how you're actually going to make money. Now, step number one is pay down your high interest debt. I don't want you investing or looking for opportunities to invest until you get that debt down, because no investment that you're going to be able to make typically, and I'm not even talking about crypto or Alpha. Have you checked out Butthole Coin? I get it. That one's going to the moon. No, seriously though. Until you pay down your debt, that's that high interest debt, you shouldn't be investing in other platforms, in my opinion. And the reason is because you're not going to typically make 20%. And so it makes sense that if you're paying somebody 20%, what you can do is pay that debt down as fast as possible so that you're not actually spending that 20% making somebody else rich. Then that's when the magic happens. All right, which is the next thing? Get out of debt. If you can, or I should say, make it a point to start getting yourself out of debt. And when you do, when you're out of debt, it is one of the most amazing feelings ever when you don't owe anybody anything. Now, typically, most people can't do this with like a home or an automobile, but if you can, I'm telling you, it is one of the things that is going to liberate you financially. But then, once you stop or you're done paying off that debt, then what I want you to do is take this money that you were spending on that debt or that payment and invest it. Look for opportunities to basically make money. If you think for a second you're going to be getting rich from working a W-2 and just saving 10%, chances are it's probably not going to happen. Stop saving at that point and start investing. It's about looking for opportunities to put your money to work, which is one of the concepts that broke people just don't understand. You've got to understand that if you are not making money when you're sleeping, you are going to work till the day that you die. Passive income, the sexiest income you can make. It is. Honestly, it's sexy. Passive income, when you're not having to work and you're getting money, right? This is the whole premise of investing in, a 401k or a mutual fund or the stock market. You're giving somebody or a company or whatever it is money, and then they're going to use this money to make more money, and then they're going to pay you a percentage, right? That's basically how you're going to make passive income. You use the wealth that you've created, give it to somebody, they make themselves richer, but they're also going to be like, yo, knuckle bump, thanks. Here's a little something for you, right? You do that for years, and over time, it grows. And that's one of the things. You're going to have to ride the wave. Don't try and time it and all that nonsense. But the fact is, if you truly want to be financially in a great place, you've got to look for opportunities to invest and make money when you're not actually having to trade time for dollars. Brings me to the next thing that keeps people poor, and that is they don't invest in themselves to develop higher value skills. Right? All skills were not created equal. Digging a ditch is very different than helping a company with AI or AI integrations or video editing, right? Very different. I will pay somebody a lot more to edit a video than I will to go dig a plant hole for dig a hole in my yard for a plant. You get what I'm saying, right? You educate yourself, you spend money, you invest in yourself in order to develop higher value skills. The higher value skills that you have, the more money you're going to be able to make, the more money you're going to command. And so that's one of the things, and that's one of the other mistakes that I see that people are making that is keeping them poor. They're never trying to basically better themselves to look for a better career. They might look for a pay raise or try to get promoted, but it's not about that. It's about really leveling up. And the only way that you're really truly going to be able to do that is if you change jobs or careers. And when you do this, a lot of times, everything opens up, but it's about investing in yourself. And the last thing that I kind of want to talk about that is a mistake that keeps people poor is they don't look for opportunities to make more money because they think in their head, hey, I've always been poor, and so I'm always going to be poor. Or everybody around me is poor and broke, so why should I be any different? All right? Being broke is a mindset. All right? Being poor, it's a mindset. You've got to have the ability to look creatively at the landscape, the different opportunities, and you've got to look for ways to make more money or do something better to make more income. You've got to start looking for more creative ways to make income or money because, once again, it's about that balance sheet. If your expenses are here and you're making this, if you can lift this up, keep these here or drop them, the delta is bigger. You're going to have more money in this area to invest, save, or do something amazing, start a business or whatever. And so you just got to understand that you've got to look for opportunities to make more money. All right. Speaking of money, real quick, if you have not checked out the White Label Empire, I'm going to link to that down below. It's my business community where I help you basically start a business if you're interested. All right. We got 2 different membership options. One time, $397. You can pay monthly, cancel anytime, $97 if that is more your speed. But the whole premise of this community is to help people that want to start businesses start the business. I've built a curriculum that walks you step by step through the process of sourcing, of ideation to find the right product. I also talk about how to set up your website and basically walk you through the process. But it's not just online. If you want to start a coffee shop, right, or go to flea markets, we can talk about that. We address that as well. It's about entrepreneurship, and really that's what the community is about. If you want to do something amazing and you want to take a chance on yourself this year, join the community. You will not regret it, I promise. But the fact is, I can't do the work. You've got to be committed to actually doing it. That's the missing piece, which is the last thing I just want to mention, and that is motivation. A lot of poor people or people that are broke are lazy. Laziness. A lot of broke people are lazy because they don't want to actually take the initiative or do the things they need to do in terms of fixing themselves financially. It's laziness, not knowing where you're at financially in terms of a budget. It's lazy just throwing your credit card out there and buying something. It's lazy ordering Uber Eats or ordering things that are super expensive that are just not worth the money. It's laziness. It takes work, it takes discipline to fix your problem and situation, but it's possible. If I can do it, so can you. Guys, I want to encourage each and every one of you. If you're sick and tired of being broke, now is the time to change things. I also encourage you to watch the video I did talking about the $10,000. It's a magic number that will truly change your life. The link will be down below, along with the link to the White Label Empire. Other than that, you're awesome.